All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Another live look in coming up here. I'm Darren Tipton with VBAdrenaline.com. And maybe it's just because everybody on the West Coast is up now or the coffee kicked in, but it just seems like the last half hour or so, things really picked up. Feel like I'm in a real newsroom or something. Phones going crazy, emails going crazy, social media is going a little bit nuts, but we're waiting for one of the members of the University of Minnesota volleyball staff to join us. And not sure if everybody knows it or not, but Coach Keegan Cook's wife just recently had a baby. And so he was kind of on call. And so if Coach Cook was not going to be available, assistant coach Kristen Kelsey was going to take the call. So we'll see who shows up for Gopher Nation here today, but we're waiting on that, seeing if I can find the camera here. But yeah, things are crazy for sure. And there we go. And our guest is waiting. Let's bring her in right now, live from the Minneapolis Sky Cam. Kristen Kelsey, Coach.
Hey, Darren, how are you?
I'm awesome. Now, as a guy who grew up a Minnesota fan, that's a beautiful sight for me. That's the PAV, right?
It is the PAV, yes, the famous PAV. So
is that
here taking calls and just having a great day, honestly.
Is that right outside your guys' offices then?
Yeah, so we have two offices. We have offices in Bierman in our Athletes Village, and then we have offices here at the PAV. So you can kind of see, actually, if I turn the camera around, these guys are hanging out in the conference room. Yeah, we got Keegan on a call back there. And then we have our performance center downstairs, which is our training room, our weight room, our film room, our locker room is all right below us downstairs. So in the fall, this is where our athletes spend most of their time.
Well, and so talk about that with you guys a little bit, because you're fortunate to have the volleyball facility there at the PAB, but you also have the Athletes Village, which is not too far of a walk, I don't think, but
about 10 minutes.
Yeah, but talk about those two facilities for you guys.
Yeah, so we're super lucky is that they built our Athletes Village in 2019. It's the old Bierman athletic facilities. And so what they did is they kind of combined the old Bierman facilities and added a tower. And in that tower is our offices, it's compliance, it's our student athlete academic center, it's our training table. So our athletes eat all of their meals there, lunch and dinner during the week. And it's actually right across the street from where all of our athletes live. So we have Dinkytown, we have where our freshmen live, as well as our off-campus housing right across the street from Bierman. So that's where they go and they meet all the other athletes. They have training table. They work with Jackie, our academic coordinator, who's phenomenal. And then they have their other half of their life here at the PAV. So kind of like when they walk into the PAV, now it's volleyball, right? And they go into the performance center and our strength coach office, our athletic training office is down there, hot tubs, cold tubs, weight room. I like to tell people it's like the best kept secret in volleyball, that we have this secret space behind the cement that is volleyball only. And we have 4 squat racks in there and a film room and a recovery room with pods. And so we spend a lot of time here in the fall. And then in the spring, they kind of utilize both spaces.
Well, and I think when they see it, and I went to my first actual match in the PAV last fall. And I think the talk with basketball anyways is like, the barn's outdated, whatever. But for volleyball, it is absolutely a perfect home court facility. And you guys sell it out every night. And you can see the banners behind you guys. And I mean, we talk about a perfect home court facility and the fact that you guys have one of the few volleyball programs that have everything right there.
Yeah, I mean, when they renovated the PAV, they put air conditioning in it, which we're super fortunate. So, there's air conditioning. We put our sport court actually right down here. And during the fall, we get 2 courts in here, and we don't have to move, right? We don't have to flip our sport court for game days. We get to practice on our actual court every day of the week before our matches. And so, it's, it fits almost 6,000 people. The Gopher fan base is second to none. I mean, they show out for our spring match, standing room only. And so it took me a while, to be honest, to after playing in here as an opponent, player, or coach for 12 years, the first couple of matches, I was like, oh, I'm on this side and this is home now, and it was a really cool, surreal experience. But now being a year and a half in, the PAV is definitely home.
So let's talk about today. We've asked every staff so far. We've been getting great comments from everybody watching, especially on Instagram. But what does the day look like for the Gopher staff? When did you guys start things? How's it rolled out? And how's it going?
Yeah, it's going great. It's one of those days where it's like I'm drinking coffee, but I don't think I need it because the adrenaline is just pumping. It's an awesome day. And for me, June 15th, it gets talked about a lot. It's really the start. And for some athletes, it is the end. They do make their choices. And I think we've gotten better as coaches, as players, of doing our homework, and for them going to camps and being in a position to maybe make a decision faster. And for some athletes, they want to take their time and take visits. And I love that there's options, but for me, June 15th is awesome because it's the start of the relationship. And that is a huge reason why I coach, and what I love about recruiting and what I love about just being in this profession is the relationships, especially with the athletes, from the day of June 15th when we can finally have, the first conversation with them. And maybe that's welcoming to the Gopher family. Maybe it's just having that intro phone call and learning more about them, all the way to their graduation and weddings and watching them become strong, independent women. And so that's why I love today, because we've been putting in the work, as coaches, and the athletes have been grinding for this moment to see their opportunities, and you get to kind of begin that relationship. So it's been an awesome day so far.
So as we've asked, are you guys more of narrow focus? Is it casting a wide net today? What does today look like for Coach? For you guys, what's day one look like for the Gophers?
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, our list is pretty maybe tiered, right? You have some athletes kind of first and foremost that you've maybe been watching the most or have had the most eyes on or came to camp, and so you're kind of trying to feel the hints that you've been getting. Obviously, having no contact with them, it's hard to know where they're at. But we have a number of different athletes that we talk to, especially for this class, needing a couple of different positions. We sent out an email last night. I sent out some text messages. We don't do any midnight necessarily phone calls, but they did receive something from us. So by the morning comes, they're waking up with some news from Gopherland, and they're able to send us some times to get on the phone and begin that conversation. And for us, we really like our whole staff to be involved. And so we all have our own time with the athlete on that initial phone call, which I think is really important, that they're able to talk to our whole staff and, ultimately Keegan, and kind of begin that relationship with all of us.
So is it kind of like, as I see you guys all in there around the staff table, is it a Zoom? Is it a phone call? Or
it depends, I think it's up to the athlete. I think we like to do Zoom. Sometimes it's a FaceTime. Sometimes it's a group FaceTime. Sometimes athletes are traveling or they're at a grad party, and so we're pretty flexible. Again, for us, it's the beginning of the conversation, and it doesn't, this is something for me who can be somewhat type A sometimes, is like, it doesn't have to be perfect, right? It just has to be the start of it. But the calls are going great so far. We've talked to some really incredible athletes and people, and you get to meet the parents, and it's just a really cool moment to kind of start that journey.
So you guys have to feel good. How is this different than a year ago, year one, and now they're a little more established? I think you guys have some, you guys can't talk about last year's class, but we had it as a top 10 class, and just had a big signing in the portal a week ago that you can talk about. But how do you feel coming into this class? Do you feel like there's some positive momentum shaping up for this class?
Yeah, I think, Keegan's biggest saying and the tenet of our program is people values volleyball. And so to be in a place a year and a half in, I think we just have such a better understanding of all three of those tenets, right? So our people, whether that's our new additions in the transfer portal, whether that's our new staff, whether that's our current team, right? At this point last year, we had been here 6 months and we hadn't even been through a fall season yet. And what you learn in 6 months in the spring versus 6 months in the fall is night and day. And so just being, I think, more firm and knowing who we are and knowing how amazing Minnesota is, right? Those ideas you have when you come to a place and how they've exceeded all of my expectations, right? We know what we're working with. We know the facilities we have. We know the people that we have. Firmness in our values too. I think now knowing our group and knowing our culture and what's important and more importantly, what are non-negotiables. And I think that's a really big important part of today too, is as we talk to these athletes, it's a lot of like, hey, here's what makes you special, but we're also asking tough questions and learning about their values and what's important to them, because we know not only what's important to us, but also what, is not going to be part of our culture. And then lastly, the volleyball piece. And that's probably what we know most about these athletes, right? We've been watching them for months, years, some of these athletes. And so we're now able to share our vision with them from a volleyball perspective after having them. It's been so one-sided, right? And now we get to be able to share that is pretty special for us.
And I think with you guys, and especially with you, and I think what I'm learning about Keegan, you talked about some athletes will decide early, but I got to believe with you guys, sorry.
Okay, phones are blowing up today.
You knew, and I lied about our 10-minute, but I promise we will get off before our other deadline. But I got to believe with you, with Keegan, it benefits you the longer you go before a recruit commits, because you guys are relationship coaches, right? That's the strength of you. That's the strength of Keegan. So the more times you get to talk to a prospect, their parents, those things, that's got to be an asset to you over the programs that push for a deadline, a quick answer. Would you agree?
Yeah, I definitely know where you're going with that. And I agree with you. I think a superpower of Keegan's is his relationship building and just like living to his values, and that's something that is why I coach too, is the relationship. So I agree with you that like we like to have multiple interactions with athletes, but I also think we've just done a better job this year. We had a June camp, and now that we've been, I've worked with Keegan now for a year and a half, is we've done a better job of maybe just doing holistic homework on some of these athletes and getting to know them at NTDPs or at camp or through club coaches. And so I think we feel really great about the athletes that we're talking to today, about already having somewhat of a relationship down. So we don't feel the need to have to stretch it out. But at the same time, it is a relationship and that takes time. And so we're in it for the long haul, right? If you're going to become a Gopher, we're committed to you not only for the next 4, 5, 6 years, but we're going to be with you for life. And so that is something that we're not trying to rush that process. We want to do it the right way. And that's something we live strongly by, is doing it with integrity and character. But I do think having a year together under our belts has really allowed us to be more thorough in this recruiting process and do a lot of homework walking into today.
Well, and I think that one thing and we'll leave on is I talk to prospects all the time, and I don't know the answer I'm looking for. I just ask the question because I know the end results on the other side a lot of times. And I talk to athletes who leave a school later, and I think what I do is try and prevent the experience from being less than positives. And there's a lot of reasons people transfer, whatever. But when I talk to athletes, I'm like, if you could do something again, and when I talk to kids, they always say culture, right? And I tell them every coach is going to throw out the culture, right?
Yeah.
They're going to throw that out. What is
a buzzword, right? It's a buzzword.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And camp. And then I hear, and I'm like, well, how'd you know they had a good culture? I'm like, well, I just felt great at camp. And I'm like, listen, I'm a grumpy old man. I can be nice for an hour at camp, right? Like that's why they call it camp, right? But what I think is different about you guys is athletes bring up culture, and they're like their culture, and they have specifics like the transfer that y'all just signed. They're like, man, like they preach that this is what's different. I was sent something on their culture. So is that something that Keegan's leading with like right away today on this first phone call, or does that come later in the process?
Yeah, it comes in the first phone call. It comes in the way that we communicate, right? Our vision. It comes in the way that we're respectful of other programs and their approaches, right? It just we try to live by it, and I think that's what that's a big reason why I was drawn to Keegan, and I think why a lot of people who know who he is and the way that he is because values are not a buzzword for him. Culture is not a buzzword for him. Like it's his true way of life, and it intercedes every conversation, every part of our life, whether that's in the recruiting process, whether that's, hanging out with his newborn son and his wife last night, prepping for June 15th.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there holding the 2-week-old baby, never been happier. But I think that is what Minnesota volleyball is that we're not just going to say these things, we're going to live them, and we're going to do them, whether when it's easy and we're winning games in the Big Ten, or whether it's a rough period and we have to practice some conflict agility. And the fact that other people can feel that, can see that, means that hopefully we're walking the talk a little bit.
Yeah. Well, you get into fandom anymore, and you got a lot to do. And I just want to wish you guys luck. Thanks for a little bit of time today. Athletes, if you're watching, that's a pretty cool facility that you should be walking into. Good luck. And as I tell everybody, and I don't judge staffs by what they do in the court X's and O's, because I have no clue what y'all do, right? I don't know a 5'1" or a 6'2". I judge staffs by how they're treated. And if I'd send my daughter here, and all I can say is with you guys, I think you treat people by far as good as I think any staff would. And I think you guys keep that up. Things are definitely on an upturn for Minnesota volleyball. So you guys keep doing things the right way, that way. And a lot of good things are going to happen for you guys. So
Thanks,
appreciate your time as always. No, thank you. Thank you for from somebody who likes to see kids treated the right way. So appreciate your time. You guys go work your tails off. Tell the rest of the staff I said hello, and y'all go grab a big juicy Lucy tonight when this is all over. Okay.
Will do. I'll send you a picture, Darren. I appreciate your time. Thanks for having us today.
Hey, as the salesman says, Sky-U-Ma, go Gophers.
Sky-U-Ma, go Gophers.
All right, take care.
Bye, Darren. Thank you.
Bye-bye.